Hello, I'm Ross Stagnitti with Canal Town Commentary, a series of Canastota stories which will be archived down the street at the Education Center. Today is September 14th, 2015, and I'm at the Canal Museum in Canastota with Mr. Robert E. Wilde. Bob, I want to thank you for accepting my interview invitation.
You're welcome.
And I would also like to thank Ellen Dunbar, who again is our videographer. Bob is a graduate of Canastota High School, class of 1941,
Yes.
and he's among what Tom Brokaw calls the greatest generation. Now, for our viewers, younger viewers, I may need to explain, the greatest generation would be those people who lived through the Depression and also served this country during World War II, either overseas or here in the United States. Bob served in the Army Air Corps as a mechanic during the Second World War. Bob, let's begin at the beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born at Wilde because that's where my grandmother was. And my mother had married a Canadian. And she wanted us to be American citizens, so she came back to her mother's place for us kids to be born. Except for my sister, when I was a year and a half, 2 years old, we were living in Toronto, and I got pneumonia, and she couldn't get back. So Annie, my sister, was a Canadian. And when she wanted to go to war work, she had to become a citizen before General Electric would hire her. So, but the rest of us kids was all born in the United States.
And you said you were born in Whitelaw. Was there a general hospital in Whitelaw at that time?
Yes, it was my grandmother's house. At that time...
What road, Bob? Excuse me. What road was your grandmother's residence?
Waterbury Road.
Waterbury Road. Okay, I know where that is.
Everybody on that road was related, at least a cousin, when I was a kid. I had uncles and aunts and grandma and grandpa. Mm-hmm. In fact, my grandfather died when I was 2-3 years old. And I couldn't understand why he was laying in the piano, because the coffin that he had looked like was made of the same kind of wood as a piano could. Right. And it was years later before I figured out that he had died, and because I didn't go to the funeral. But so that's, and Herbie was born there, 2 years older than I. Annie was born in Canada, and then we spent the next 2 years in Toronto.
Okay.
And then they moved back to the States, and Harriet was the next to be born, and Earl was the youngest. And that's the family that we had.
So you were born in 1921, that means you'll be 94 next month.
That's right, the 19th.
Earlier you mentioned the first thing you remembered as a child, and what was that?
About Canastota?
Right.
Was the lift bridge that they had on the old Erie Canal. Now the Erie Barge Canal had been in operation, so there was boats coming and going, but it was just local stuff. And there was a stairway on each side of the canal. And when they would have the bridge up, us kids would run up one stairway, cross the top, and down the other. Well, that was lots of fun. And they didn't mind. In fact, somebody would holler at you and say, "Okay, time to quit. The bridge is coming down."
Right. I'm looking out the window, and I can actually see the site of where that bridge was. The
Yes.
key bank is on one side. Your formal education, where did you start school, kindergarten?
I went to kindergarten on the second floor of the library, which is on Main Street.
I did too, so we have something in common there.
And then we moved out on Waterbury Road.
Right.
We had an acreage there. And my first and second year was at Geese Corners. Now, the building is gone, but it was a little country school.
Geese Corners in Whitelaw.
It's near Whitelaw.
Okay. Which roads would be near there? Maybe.
Well, we used to go Waterbury Road to the end of it, and there's the well drilling
Okay.
people there.
Oh, right.
You take a left and you go down about a quarter of a mile, and that was Geese Corners.
Okay. The well drilling people, the Kincaid's.
Kincaid's,
Okay.
that's right.
All right. So that was primary school at Geese Corners in Whitelaw, or near Whitelaw.
Near Whitelaw.
And then you mentioned that your family moved to Canastota.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you reside in Canastota?
Well, any place my dad could find a cheap apartment for a while. Then he bought the first place he bought was on Ravine Street.
Okay. On the south side.
And I went to the 3rd and 4th grade at Southside School.
Now, I should mention that that's the old Southside School, corner of Rasbeck and Prospect.
Yes, that's right.
Not the current
the
Southside
current
School.
And up there is when my kid brother wound up missing. We couldn't find him. And all the neighbors, there was this big ravine behind the house a ways. And I went down in there and looked all around and couldn't find him. We had all the neighbors looking for him. And I'm getting sweaty and hot. And I go in the house to get a cold drink of water. And we had a storm door screen. It was closed, but the inside door was open. So I just swung it closed. And right behind the door in the clothes basket that was half full of clothes, Earl is sleeping.
So that was on Ravine Street.
That was on Ravine Street.
Okay, and then after those first few years, you probably went to school down the street here, Chapel,
Yes.
or was it Chapel? Spencer Street first,
Spencer Street.
and then Chapel Street.
Yep.
Okay, and
And then the old high school on Peterborough Street.
Peterborough Street, exactly. Now, at about that time when you were in high school, the family moved to Main Street.
Yes.
Okay, do you recall the address?
213 South Main Street.
Is the home still there?
The building's still there. They've taken down the sign though. It used to be the Thomas Barlow House.
Okay.
And yes, whenever we came back home, that's where we went after the war. You know?
Right. So that, if I remember correctly, the Thomas Barlow home would be near the railroad?
It was because Dad, at that time, was working as a crossing watchman.
Okay.
And he had worked his way up to where he got the day shift on that. It was a funny situation in a way. There was the crossing on Main Street and Peterborough Street both. Well, you worked 6 days a week. And that meant that there was one day on 6 shifts that you would not be working.
Right.
So they had what they called the extra man. And that's the way Dad got in. But then as his seniority built up, he got the job he wanted
Right.
on Main Street, right across from the Thomas Barlow house.
Right.
So that's how come he bought that house.
Okay. Now the Thomas Barlow house, if I'm correct, would be next door to the building that used to be Katie Products.
Yes,
which would be
that's
in the corner of Barlow Street.
There was a Chevy garage across the street.
Right, right. It was Gott Chevrolet for a while, then Vertucci Chevrolet, and I don't know.
It changed hands
a
a lot of
few
times.
times. It's an auto parts store now. During your junior high and high school years, the United States was in the midst of the Great Depression. What do you recall about Depression years? What was life like in Canastota?
I don't think that we thought we were in a depression. Probably the adults did. But the big thing was if you wanted anything, you would some way or another find a job to earn money to get it. Like I bought bicycle through delivering papers. Mm-hmm. And I worked on the muck. And you didn't think anything about it because we didn't know any other life.
Right.
And you can look back at it and say it was a Great Depression, but if you don't know anything different, it was good for us in one way that we worked hard for what we wanted to accomplish, right. Which today you give everything to somebody, they don't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
and this was an agricultural community, so people had gardens and they had farms, and so they were able to produce a lot of their own food, unlike some of the rural, suburban areas and urban areas where, I mean, they were dependent upon...
Everybody had a garden.
Right.
We even had one there in town, in the backyard.
You know, you mentioned the high school that is now an elementary school on Peterborough Street, and I was thinking that you and I were kind of at opposite ends of the spectrum at that alumni banquet this year, because my class celebrated its 50th anniversary, and I was the youngest member of that class. So of those in attendance at the banquet who went to high school in the Peterborough Street building and graduated from that building, you were the oldest, I was the youngest. Class of 41, class of 65. It was a fun building to be in. It had a balcony, and it had some strange things regarding the entrances.
Yes. You never got caught going up or down the girls' stairway.
Right.
And the thing that I look back at and laugh was they would not let us see the girls play basketball. Once in a while, we'd sneak in and look over the balcony and see them before we got chased out.
Well, I can recall the same thing. I believe it was intramurals more than anything else. The girls didn't get much gym time, and again, I can vaguely remember looking into a window and seeing them playing basketball. And I think back then they played 3 on offense and 3 on defense because they thought girls couldn't run the length of the court. Obviously, things have changed dramatically since then. But I do remember the separate entrances, and it's to this day it still says boys on the north side and girls on the south side of the Peterborough Street school. We had the same American history teacher, Rita Mackey.
Oh, yes.
And you mentioned something about your score on a Regents with Rita Mackey.
Well, Father Charles Berganoni was her favorite person, and I used to have to skip her class sometimes because we went on field trips with William Wadsworth Ostrinsky.
And we'll get to him in a moment.
And she didn't think I knew anything about her class. In fact, she gave me the only red marks I ever got in high school because I don't know why, but so at the Regents' time, you took your Regents, and then they would post them on the bulletin board, the results. And I'm looking there, and I outscored her favorite son by 10 points. And I'm looking at it, and Miss Mackey come along and looked over my shoulder and says, "Oh, Robert, how did you get a score like that?" You know what I said? I said, "Miss Mackey, maybe I knew a lot more about your class than you ever give me credit for." She didn't say a word. She turned around and walked away. But,
Well, I was looking through your yearbook, still the Toot, still today the Toot, 1941, and I noticed a familiar face, but an unfamiliar name. You mentioned a Mr. Ostrinsky, and if I'm not mistaken, he was one and the same with Bill Sharp, who was
there's a story
who
behind that.
was on staff when I was in high school. What's the story behind the name?
Well, when my first day in class, he taught ag, and that was something I was interested in. He put on the board, William Wadsworth Ostrinsky. He said, "Now that is my name, and that is the way you will address me, Mister." So, okay, we did. Then he was going to get married, and his wife didn't particularly like Ostrinsky. Sharp is the English for Ostrinsky.
Okay.
So they was going to change the name. Well, in the meantime, he got in the service, and he missed 5 formations because the sergeant couldn't pronounce his name. And we kidded him afterwards, so he changed his name to Sharp after he was in the service a week. And when he come back, we said, "Yeah, why didn't you make that sergeant learn your name like you made us?"
So William Wadsworth Ostrinsky, a.k.a. Bill Sharp, was your ag teacher, but also he was your wrestling coach.
Oh, yes.
And you wrestled how many years in high school?
2 was all because he came when I was a sophomore.
Okay.
I wrestled sophomore and junior, and I did all right.
Okay.
But the high point of it was my senior year. I was too old, but I kept with the team and practiced with them and everything. And they had the AAU had a state championship meet up at Watertown, and I went up there. I wrestled twice. I got first place, and the reason I did this was I saw the guy that I was going to wrestle was back in the locker room smoking. And so once I got on his chest, it was goodbye.
So that was the Amateur Athletic Union,
Yeah.
the AAU, that you became a champion
Yeah.
in Watertown. Interesting. In the 1941 Toot, your yearbook, the class prophecy mentioned that you would someday be the owner of a 1,000-acre farm in the Midwest. Did it ever happen?
No, but my daughter married a farmer that at one time or another probably had covered that many acres.
Okay. And you spent time in the Midwest.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Your postgraduate days.
Yes.
And it mentioned in the yearbook, maybe there's some connection here, maybe this is the reason they put this as part of the prophecy, that you were on a cattle judging team?
Yes. With Bill Sharp, we went down to Cornell to judge cattle. It was a good experience, but we didn't win any championships.
Right. You know, I was flipping through the pages of your yearbook, and I noticed some names I was familiar with. Deceased members of your class like Al Depoletti, Tony Joffrey, Ham Merrill, who became an architect, I believe. But you also mentioned Charles Borgognoni before he became a priest, before he became a Monsignor, and he was involved in was it the thespian group, an acting group?
Yes. Well, we put on 3 operettas, and he had the one of the leading parts in them.
And then he got involved in a group in Syracuse called the Pompeian Players.
That was after he graduated, and yes, he did a lot of good there in Syracuse.
Right.
with his, he carried it right on.
Sure. And he was the
Into his
chaplain of
life.
the football team, I think, at Syracuse University for a number of years. On the other side of the coin, there aren't too many members of that class who are still living. But I noticed a couple of names that I'm familiar with. Frances Chick Sedecase, and also she was Rosina Tornabene in high school, but now she's Rosina Patney.
Oh, yeah.
She was a good friend of my mom. So there's at least three that I know from the class of 1941. Bob, your name has become synonymous with running and track and field, cross country, and you got your start in high school on the CHS track team. What events did you participate in, and what can you tell us about that experience?
Well, we had a coach that told us to go out and run, and he took us to the meets on Saturdays. Other than that, we didn't see much of him. So, really didn't. I ran a mile, and by the time the season was ending, I was in the shape I should have been to start with. So, but I beat a guy the last race I ever ran that I'd been trying to beat all the time. So it finished on a good note. But if I had known then what I learned at Concordia College, I would have been a better runner.
So there really wasn't much of a program.
No.
And you said competition was on the weekend because probably many people had to work after school. There weren't meets
Well,
on,
and we
on
went
weekdays.
we went all over any place that they had a track meet. It's not like today.
Right.
We went down to Norwich and up to Watertown and all over the place. Anytime we could get the best track we ran on was up at Syracuse at the U.
Right. Now you mentioned something called the Loving Cup, which was given out to an outstanding athlete at that time.
Well, it was given for scholarship, citizenship, and athletic. Yes, I got my name on it because I got it as a senior. But the thing was that they put your name on it, they put it in the trophy case, and I got a picture of it. It's all I got left.
Right. So they didn't give you an individual trophy to take home.
No.
Right.
No.
Right. Well, you returned to running later in life. In fact, almost 30 years later, you got back into running. You were nearly 50 years old. Why?
Well, I had gone through divorce I really didn't want, and I really didn't care whether I lived or died, so I wasn't taking too good a care of myself. And I wound up in the hospital at 2 o'clock in the morning. I had pains in my chest like I never had before. I got up, I drove, I was living in Seward to get away from Lincoln. I got to the hospital, and on the way up, I'm looking at the speedometer, and I'm doing 15 miles an hour, and I said, "Bob, that's plenty fast the way you're feeling." Well, I walked in, and they stuck me in intensive care, and the doctor, they called a doctor up, and he come down, and he told me afterwards, he said, "Bob, when you hear a rasping noise in somebody's heart, it wakes you up real quick." So they called my daughter up that morning and said, "If you want to see your dad alive, you get up here today because we don't think he's going to be here tomorrow." Now, if I ever write a book, the title of it's going to be The Longest 24 Hours, because that's what the doctor gave me to live, was 24 hours. Now, I started a running program, jogging program, to get my health back. And I started running with the cross-country team at Concordia College.
This is in Nebraska.
In Nebraska, Seward, Nebraska. Well, they wanted me to time them, so I started timing. The next thing I know, I have the honor of being the assistant cross-country and track coach for Concordia College. Now, I never went to college. So, to me, this was a great honor, and it really was my salvation. God works in funny ways. He spared my life, and I figured he spared my life, and that's why I was trying to do something, you might call it payback.
Right.
And the kids at Concordia College, they loved me. They give me this plaque when I left. This is how much they thought of me.
Bob, running wild, you are loved from your cross-country and track family. And there's scripture from John 3:16.
Yeah. It was a very good experience.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I said, God, you spared my life. I'm going to try and live it for you.
Right.
And I have done that ever since, one way or another. And I guess that's probably why I'm still here. Because the good Lord's had a lot of chances he could have called me home, but he didn't. And so that was probably the high point of my life, was when they, after 10 years, they gave me the Crest of Christ Award, which is the highest honor that they can give a non-professional person. And the whole senior class gave me a standing ovation. And the tears were rolling down my face. And I said to myself, Lord, here's a guy that didn't even want to live, and look what you done with it.
Right.
So that was, I think, the high point in my life.
Well, speaking of getting second chances and third chances, you mentioned an experience you had transporting some runners in Kansas.
Yes.
On the highway, and you came awfully close to...
Well, this was the same time period. We went down to Kansas a lot to run cross country. And we had two teams, and the coaches drove the vans. You didn't have bus drivers like we had from Canastota here. So the girls run first. They run 3 miles. The guys run second, and they run 5. So the coach wanted to get back, and he took the girls' team when they were ready to leave and left me with the boys to lay shower and like that. We're headed down this nice highway. It's just a 2-lane. Come up over top of this hill, and there's 2 semis coming right down side by side down the road. Well, what do? Am I going to take the shoulder or what? And everybody seems to know what everybody else is doing. The one semi took the left side, the other semi took the right side, and I went right down the middle. And there's a guy that wouldn't let this truck back in, an older fella, and his eyes were as big as saucers because I was coming right at him. But then I dodged around him. But so I got back, and the guy that's sitting beside me is sleeping. The guy behind me is watching all this. He says, "You see that? What? Well, that truck was coming right at us." You know what the guy said? He missed us, didn't he?
Your wife Eileen is over there smiling. Have you had any experiences like that with Bob? No. She says no, thank God. Well, speaking of your running career, you returned to Canastota in the early 80s, and you became the assistant cross-country coach for the girls' team here at CHS. And recently I had an opportunity to speak with Andy Pino, who was the head coach at the time. He is now the athletic director. And I just happened to mention your name, and Andy started gushing. He said, one of the primary reasons that we were so successful in the 80s, one of the major reasons we won a state championship was Bob Wilde. And he mentioned a computerized training program that you had brought from Concordia. What was that about?
Well, it shows you how many repeats. If you're at one level, say you want to, you can't run a 5-minute mile. You're running 5, 10, or 15. And you want to get to running that, it will show you how many repeats you got to do of what kind of exercise to get you from one level to the next. Mm-hmm. So we train these gals at the same intensity as what I was training at the kids at Concordia College. Not as many miles or anything. And this took them from one level to the next. And the comical thing about it was that when I mentioned this training program, I said that's just a printout of some kind or another. So the next day I brought my book in, and he took it home, and he said next day, you could have your book back. I ordered one of these. Right. So it was a whole book. That's how you set up your training program.
Right.
Now, out at Concordia, we give them what they're supposed to do for the summer if they're coming back. Then, the first thing they're back, we ran the gals for 3 miles, or for 5 miles, and the guys 10 miles. And we went out with the van and picked them up, about half of them, because they hadn't been running. Then, there was real smart coach that I was working with. Then he would set up his training program to get these people to the right level. And we had a course of 4 miles and 6 miles, what we call the Bohemian Alps. It's hills. Mm-hmm. We take those kids out there, and the first time they run it, they're walking. We're picking them up with a van and hauling them back. By the time that first meet come around, they ran that course without stopping. And later on, we had a gal that was our top runner. In fact, they give me the credit for starting the girls' cross-country team there at Concordia, because I ran with the girls.
Right.
And we'd run the 4 miles, and the last mile she's supposed to do it in 6 minutes. And I could stay close enough to her at that time to check her for 6 minutes.
Wow. As I said, Andy gave you credit for the team's success here in Canastota. It was 1986. Canastota won its first state championship, I believe, in any sport. And if I'm not mistaken, Patty Wiegand was one of the star runners. Mary Beth Duffy, who is now Romagnoli. In fact, she continued her running career, as did Patty. Patty was an All-American at Tennessee. Andy said that the athletes love Bob, and he also mentioned that you used to mix some kind of a brew, not alcoholic, but a brew. What was the brew? What was the secret there?
Well, see, there's a story behind the story on all of these things. I was running in any races I could when I was there in Seward.
Right.
I went down to Kansas and I ran 4 races. I did real well, and especially mile and 2 miles. I'd finished first, but the water didn't agree with me down there, so I didn't drink anything. And I ran out of sweat after I run 1 mile of this 2 mile. And I knew I was in trouble. But I was far enough ahead, I still won the race. But I went and got some pop. I drank 2 cans of pops before I could spit. And the next morning, I got up, I took 1 step, and I fell right on my nose. My legs wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. I had ran out of juice.
Sure.
So, they was having a sale of Mountain Dew and Gatorade at the store. So I got me a 5-gallon jug, and I mixed Gatorade at first. Well, the kids didn't really like this too well. So I doctored it up, and I found out that, and I put ice cubes in it, and I found out that the right combination was a third water, a third Gatorade, and a third of something with some fizz to it.
Some caffeine, maybe.
Yeah, and those kids would drink 5 gallons of it when they was, I furnished it. And I was volunteer there. They weren't paying me anything, but I could scrounge up enough money to.
Right.
And so when I came back to Canastota, I did the same thing here for the athletes, because that's something that will help you go. And when I left, that's right, his assistant had a daughter. And she says, "Mom, you got to find out how he mixes that stuff before he leaves."
Well, they obviously appreciate it, because here's yet another award. This is the Varsity C that was donated by the GAA. That would be about the Girls Athletic Association. Outstanding alumnus.
Yeah. Well, I guess they did appreciate it.
Yes,
but I was getting
sure
paid for it then.
Right.
But in all of this, when working with kids, I don't care how much money you get, that's not the pay.
Exactly.
It's just what we were talking about. The kids appreciate it, and if you can start these kids in the right direction, and it's happened, like we were talking about Patty Wiegand and some of these others, this is much better than them getting in trouble.
Absolutely.
So it's worth it.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob, you were not only a coach, but also a competitor. And you mentioned you ran in the senior division of the Empire State Games. And in 1988, you won your first medal. Which event?
Well, I think it was in the 1600.
1600 meters?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you won another medal in 1991. But then in 2012, you won 3 medals. And by then you were 90 years old. Now, which events did you participate at the age of 90?
The 100, the 200, and the 400.
Okay.
And in this one here, in 11,
These are your medals,
I had 4 of them.
4 medals there.
Yeah. And the other one would be the 1600.
Okay.
Wait a minute. The 100, the 200, the 400, and 800.
800.
And before that, I had ran the 1600, but I didn't that this year.
Now, you told me that you've kind of retired from competitive running. What year was your last race?
Well, when I was 90. That would have been.
That was the last year, 2012.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about that the last race?
Yes. There was only one other guy in my class.
Right.
So, and he was a tall guy, but they brought him out. His son brought him out and set him at the starting line and everything. He had Alzheimer's, so I didn't mind him beating me.
Right.
But I ran the 100 good, and I ran the 200 good, and I had to walk on the 400, and I said, that's it. I'm never going to win a race walking.
Right.
So that's when I quit running.
Now, do you still stay active?
3 times a week we go up to the Y, and I work on all the different machines.
Okay. And someone mentioned an award that you received just recently.
Yes.
Right. This is the 2015, this year.
Yeah.
Don Connolly Determination Award, Bob Wilde. Very nice.
For determination.
Right.
I don't know what that means. just don't quit.
Okay, Bob, let's get back to 1941, the year you graduated from high school. Following high school graduation, what'd you do during the summer of 41?
Well, I went to school in Syracuse, to a National Defense Aviation School. It was about 12 weeks, I think it was, something like that. And they sort of guaranteed that if you completed that course, that they would get you a job at a airplane plant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had hoped to go to Bell Aircraft, but they wasn't hiring anybody at that time, and the closest I could go was to Baltimore. Actually, it was in Middle River, to work on B-26s at Gunnell Martin's bomber plant. And that really was a good thing, because when I got drafted, I had some experience on airplanes, and there were very few people that had any experience, and the Air Corps was training them, whatever they had to do. So I got a job down there and went down in September of 41 and worked until July of 42. And then the draft board said they wanted me.
Okay.
So I came back to Canastota and went from Oneida in August. My service time started 20th of August.
Okay. Selective Service Office was in Oneida. It was upstairs from a drugstore, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And but we really left from Syracuse. Syracuse is where I took my physical and everything, and they took us by bus up to old Fort Niagara. They had a big, like a parade field there. Mm-hmm. They pitched tents there, and we lived in tents.
This is Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Old Fort Niagara. And they gave us all kinds of tests. Well, they decided that maybe I could work on airplanes. Mm-hmm. So they sent me to the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And they took all of the furnishings out of the hotels, put up army cots, and for 5 weeks we were prisoners.
So there were no casinos at that time in Atlantic City?
No getting out of the hotel, except we marched 2 miles out of town, marched all morning, marched back for dinner, marched back out in the afternoon, and after 5 weeks, they sent me to a mechanics school at Lincoln, Nebraska, and they had all our records of what we'd ever done, and I had prize speaking and been in things like that in high school, so they made an instructor out of me of engine operation and test, how to run the engines, how to test them, how to run all the different things that you have to do to take care of an airplane engine. And I was there for 16 years, or 16 months as an instructor. Then they decided that they needed some experienced mechanics for a new program they had, and shipped me out to Kingman, Arizona, and sent me up to Bell, up near Buffalo, to a special school on how to take care of the RP-63s. It was something new to shoot at these airplanes with plastic bullets, and they had Bell had come up with a hard aluminum surface so that you wouldn't shoot the plane down. Right. And they put a red light in the nose of it, and every time that they would hit this, it would flash off and on for every hit. So we called them pinball machines. And then from there, I guess they was getting a place where they needed mechanics for B-29, so they sent me to Amarillo, Texas. And while I'm there, the war ends. So I got sergeant's rating for going to school, and I never turned a wrench on a B-29, but I was qualified for it.
You mentioned that your public speaking in high school may have been the reason that you became an instructor. What was the reason for your interest in mechanics, in aviation mechanics in particular?
Well, when I was in school, the last couple of years, the Flying Tigers were trying to keep that Burma Road open, and I was very impressed with them. And I guess they were sort of my idol, and that's how come I decided that I would like to. I didn't want to pilot anything, but I thought maybe it'd be nice to work on planes.
Was there anything in high school, any course you took that may have been
No
vocational program at that time?
No, it wasn't. Well, William Wadsworth Ostrinsky had us overhauling engines and stuff like that, these little one-cylinder jobbies and stuff, so I had, but that was beside the point. It was...
So you were discharged in 1945? Okay.
December the 4th, 1945.
This right here, is this, yeah, that's your discharge service record.
Yep, that's it. Oh, all I got in here is a medal because, did I give you a copy of my discharge?
No.
But here's the one medal that I got. It's yeah, I took them out to get copies of it. I never put it back in here. Yeah.
You mentioned that you almost were sent to England during the war. To do what?
As a mechanic.
Okay.
There's a story, I think it's true, that the general who was running the school at Lincoln, Nebraska, had a mistress in Lincoln and a wife in Denver, Colorado. So they shipped him off to Greenland and closed the school down. And they were sending the instructors all over the place. My orders were cut for England. I had my bags all packed and everything ready to go. Well, they said, change of plans. And they sent me to Kingman, Arizona instead.
Oh, wow.
So,
now here's a question I ask a lot of people that were living during the war years. Harry Truman, of course, made the decision to drop atomic bombs on Japan. What was your opinion of that decision?
well, I thought that it was a godsend for us and for Japan too. Because if we had invaded Japan like we invaded Europe, there would have been probably as many Japanese killed as was killed from the bombs. And the Japanese deserved it. When Doolittle flew, 2 of our planes got shot down and the crews were captured. They marched the officers down the street and beheaded them publicly. Now that is against all the rules of war there was. They were prisoners. So that was just payback time. Now, yes, it was not a good thing, but we warned them. They didn't pay any attention to the warning, so we dropped the one bomb. Then they said, if you don't surrender, there will be another one. Well, they didn't think we had another one. So they didn't. Well, we didn't have a third one, but they didn't know it.
Right.
So they had a chance that we didn't have at Pearl Harbor. At Pearl Harbor, it was a sneak attack. We weren't at war with them or anything. And we warned them that we were that we had the bomb and we was going to drop it. But they didn't seem to care. But it's too bad we have wars.
Right.
I think somewhere or another, if we could get all the leaders of these countries and put them right in the front lines, that maybe they'd find out some way to get around having a war.
So you think that'd be the best prevention for future wars, is to let the decision makers be on the front lines, have them in the trenches, on the battlefields. That's an interesting point. Okay, following your military career, after your discharge, where did you go and what did you do?
Well, I went to work on-the-job training in Amo Motor Sales. It was in Oneida. We bought a place in Oneida and lived there until 51. I took on-the-job training and learned how to overhaul automatic transmissions. And then the wife wanted to go back home. So we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I went to work in an Oldsmobile garage there. And they had a General Motors Institute in Omaha. And I took all the specialties I could, courses. Like air conditioning was a big thing. Well, at one time I was the only air conditioning mechanic, automotive mechanic in the city of Lincoln, till they got more people trained, because that's when they were first coming out. And then I took all the special schools that I could, because that's when you're working on a commission, you got to work on stuff and you got to do it as fast and as good as you can. But then I had a chance to go to work in a meatpacking plant and work on equipment. This is American Stores, subsidiary of Acme Markets, and I worked there for 22 years. They liked my work because I liked to keep everything running. And I had a case of a situation. I had this boss. Nobody in the whole packing house liked him because he'd talk to you and find out what was the matter with the machine. Then he'd go in the front office and say, I checked this machine out and I know what's the matter with it. He'd take credit for himself. So I'm taking care of the sausage kitchen. I do the setup work of everything for the machines and everything. And when they change different hot dogs, you have to have a different setting for the mince master. So I set them up and put them on the table, and the guy that's running it comes and gets it and sets it up. Well, they was having trouble over on the kill floor. The leg conveyor was plugged up. So he sent me over there. Well, I had told him, I don't have time to go anyplace else to do somebody else's work, because they had a mechanic over there. Well, he sent me. I had made up my mind, if he sends me, I'm going. So I went over there. We got the machine all taken care of, running again, the conveyor. And I come back, and boy, I'll tell you, the place was blue with smoke because the line was down, the setup wasn't there. I wasn't there to make it. And but everybody knew whose fault it was. So they said, well, you make that setup just as quick as you can, and you put it in the machine because you can do it quicker. So I got it running, and you had to adjust the linker heads for the size of the hot dog. And I'm doing the adjustments, and he's on the other side of that machine and cussing me out. Says, you got me in all kinds of trouble. I said, no. I said, you've been trying to get yourself in trouble for a long time, and I've kept you out of it. I figured if you wanted trouble, you could have it. And, of course, all the bosses backed me up. And that's one of the things that happened to Packing House.
So after your stay in Nebraska, when did you come back to Canastota or to New York State?
They closed the meat packing plant down in '82, when I could take early retirement in '83. Well, it's hot in the summertime and it's cold in the wintertime in Nebraska, so really if you're going to retire, that's not my place. So I came back to Canastota at that time and bought a place on Ball Avenue. I was going to help take care of my Uncle Herb. That's where I had spent my summers. But he died at the same time I came back. But that's when I got involved in Canastota High School.
Now, how did you meet your beautiful wife, Eileen?
Well, now that's quite a story in itself.
By the way, Eileen's listening to all of this.
I had signed up with a dating service. And I'm one of the few guys in my age group, I guess, because I took a vacation and went back out to Nebraska, was gone a couple of weeks, and I come back and I had 6 women I was supposed to take out to dinner. So, she's way over in Constantia.
Too far away.
Too far away. I don't want to go that far on a date. So I went and visited the other gals. I wasn't interested in any of them, but she, I didn't call her. And she got a hold of the boss man of that, and he called me up and says, you better at least have one date with that gal. She wants... So I went and picked her up, and we went out to dinner and had a conversation. And
We met halfway.
no, that was the second
That was the
date.
second date. Okay.
So I didn't call her. So she called me up. I said, well, okay. She says, I'll meet you halfway. So we met at the Canal Cafe there.
Canal View?
Canal View.
Canal View.
Well, she don't play fair. She ordered a snowstorm. And she's got this little Ford, and I'm afraid she's going to get stuck. Well, I had a 2-bedroom house on Wilde Avenue there. I said, well, you better go with me, and tomorrow, if it quits snowing, they get the road cleaned off, I'll bring you back.
Well, I had to get back for the dog. I had the dog. My neighbor lady.
Well,
had the dog.
your neighbor lady had the dog to take care of it. So, see, she don't play fair. Then we started dating. But then she always went in the wintertime down to where she had a couple of aunts in St. Pete, Florida. So she's going down there for 3 months. And she stayed about, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And she's back home again. That's how that happened.
Now, you and Eileen have lived at 420 McGuire Street in Oneida since 2006, I think you told me.
Yeah.
Where else have you lived during your married years?
Well,
We lived on 46.
we lived on 46 next to
North shore of the lake, Oneida Lake?
No, in Oneida. Route
46, okay.
Route 46, right at the edge of town.
By the
there was
veterinary place.
Okay.
Animal doctor.
Right. I
We're
know.
right next to him.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then we lived there 3 years. We decided to buy a place
I had the camper.
in 90, buy a place and live down there in the wintertime, and we spent the summertime in this camp.
Mm-hmm.
I built upstairs
Over at my camp in
Okay.
Oneida.
a one
Or
bedroom
upstairs.
little hole in the wall for us to stay while we was up there. And then we're getting along in years here. In '06, she decided we better move back up north. Well, we looked around Canastota, but we couldn't find any place. And we found this place that she liked the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
there in Oneida, so we bought there.
Right.
We've been there since.
Very good. You mentioned sons that served in Vietnam.
Yeah, two of them.
Right. And unfortunately, they were exposed to Agent Orange.
Yep. One died when he was 62, and he had been, my oldest, John, he had been on oxygen for about 4 years before it burned up his lungs.
Mm-hmm.
He finally succumbed. He was 62 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Then my youngest son was had an infection in his hip, and it took him a year to get a new hip. Then on his other leg, his ankle and his knee was giving him a lot of pain, so he committed suicide, shot himself. And it all goes back to Agent Orange.
And the Agent Orange was a defoliant that they sprayed to get rid of the vegetation so they could
Yep.
see the enemy, basically, in the jungles.
They
of
said
Vietnam.
you can drink it, it won't hurt you, but it'll kill you.
Yeah.
And when James went over, they had found out it was bad stuff because of how it affected the natives,
Mm-hmm.
where they had sprayed it.
Right.
They got all kinds of problems.
Right.
But that was one of our mistakes.
Right. Well, Bob, you're nearly 94 and you're still driving, but Eileen's your co-pilot, right? She's a former school bus driver, and
Yeah.
apparently you chauffeur her over to Clear Path for veterans,
Mm-hmm.
which is on Salt Spring Road, just outside of Chittenango.
Yeah.
And what does Eileen do over there? You must be there
I
on the sidelines.
volunteer.
Yeah, she makes coffee and I drink it. But this is, they're doing a lot for the veterans. They started out a dog program where they would take a dog from a shelter, and the service personnel would save the dog, and the dog would save the service personnel, people that are still out in the battlefield but yet they're home.
Right.
You know, they have psychological problems. And that's what they started doing. Well, these two sisters bought this golf course, and they used the what would be the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And there's windows on this one side, and you can see all of Oneida Lake from there. And you go up there on Wednesdays or Saturdays. We would just go Wednesdays. About 10 o'clock, you can sit there and drink coffee and you can tell war stories and, till, well, they've moved it up to where lots of times they start at 11 and they'll feed you.
Right.
That's why they call it open canteen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sit around till about 1 o'clock and everybody leaves. But it's a nice place to meet people. There's about maybe half a dozen of us World War II vets
Right.
that are still moving.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. the husband of one of the two sisters was a boxer. He comes to Canastota from time. Greg Sorrentino.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Greg Sorrentino, and they do a terrific job. It's a tremendous program. Bob, I'm going to mention some Canastota names from the past, and just tell me what you remember about either these places or these names. Perrins, which was on Peterborough Street.
Oh, that was a place where you went to get ice cream.
Mm-hmm. There was a drugstore too, right?
A drugstore, yes. They had a drugstore and they had a counter there where you'd get your ice cream.
Right.
There were several drugstores. Perrins was another one.
Right. Well, Perrins is the one that I remember because it was on the way back from the movie theater.
Yeah.
And a hot summer day, you'd walk into Perrins, it was like an ice box. But maybe in your day they didn't have air conditioning.
No,
Yeah.
they didn't. No.
The Perrins I remember had air conditioning, and it was.
Well, they had a fan.
Now, how about Chapman's, the lunch counter?
Yeah, that was a good place to get a lunch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, did people eat as many meals out as they seem to today?
No. In fact, it was a treat if you ate out someplace.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a special occasion.
Mm-hmm.
If, like a banquet for athletes or up at the Rusty Rail.
Right.
No, that was an unusual thing when you did that.
Now, another place that I remember toward the end of its existence was Clark's Service Station, which is now where Nice and Easy is on Route 5. Do you remember Clark's Service Station?
I had a little Ford, and I had trouble with the fuel pump, and they helped me fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where you went. I bought tires there. I bought gas there.
Guy Clark, I believe.
Guy
was,
Clark, yeah.
And then he and his sons started the fuel business.
Yeah.
And then
But that's just him. His sons hadn't grown up yet. To be working.
the automobile you're talking about, you had a Ford.
Automobile.
Do you remember
yeah.
how much it cost?
$200. My dad bought that for me, so I'd have transportation down there when I went to work in the bomber plant.
Right. Well, these are names that were in your yearbook. They were advertisers, I guess. A. Aquino, the shoe store.
Oh, yes. If you wanted a real good pair of shoes, you had to pay for it,
Right.
but that would be the place you could get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I bought shoes there, but not a lot of them.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing regarding Mr. Aquino, he would be the great-grandfather of a gentleman who just got named as the commissioner of baseball.
Oh.
Rob Manfred's great-grandfather was the man that ran the shoe store on Peterborough Street. I saw this in the ads, Kronk's Meat Market. I know you mentioned someone by the last name of Kronk who was on the track team. Would there be any connection between...
I don't...
You mentioned maybe a pole vaulter?
Oh, Kronk.
Yeah,
Kronk.
Kronk.
Yeah. Yes. He had it made. His folks had a little money for that time, and they bought him a pole vault pole.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had the equipment. And, well, we were not jealous of him, but the coach worked with him because this is something you got to. And if he didn't take first place at a meet, he'd work hard, so he did the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was.
Right.
He was a real good athlete.
Now, I noticed a number of ads from local doctors. There were many doctors in Canastota at that time. You mentioned one in particular. My doctor was Dr. Pixley, George Pixley, but you mentioned John Sullivan.
Yeah, Pixley was our doctor. But I used to pull weeds or anything else to make a. And there was this family that had a camp. I didn't know poison ivy from nothing. So I pulled all the weeds out and I went, there was a swimming hole down off of Robert Street.
2-mile hole.
Yeah, and I went down there, it was hot, and I went swimming. Well, the next day I had poison ivy from my toes right up to the roots of my hair. And I stood it for a day, and I had gone to Pixley, and he, it wasn't that bad, I guess, then. He said, put calamine lotion on it. Well, it didn't work. I went to your doctor there, Sullivan. He gave me a shot. Now, I hold my hand up like that, you couldn't see between. The next day, it was all gone.
Oh, wow.
That one shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my doctor was Pixley, but Dr. Sullivan was my wife's family doctor. And she said that, this was back in the day, things were different then, that if he was in the examining room, he'd be smoking a cigarette.
Uh-oh.
Today, that would be,
That would be bad.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, I've enjoyed our conversation, and I want to thank you for your military service and also for your contributions to the cross-country teams, not only in Canastota, but also at Concordia College, and for many of your other volunteer activities. And you're an inspiration to those of us that would like to be as active as you are at the age of 90 plus. So I thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.